The dinner was a performance. It always was. We were seated at Trattoria Bellucci, my mother's favorite stage. A place with tablecloths so white they hurt your eyes, and waiters who moved like ghosts. The occasion was my brother, Leo's, so-called promotion. I knew the truth. I was the one who saw the accounts. It was another bailout, another desperate cash infusion funneled from the family trust I was forced to manage, a trust our father had left in my name. And my name alone. They didn't know the gritty details. To them, I was just the quiet, disappointing daughter. The spreadsheet girl. Leo was holding court, waving his hands around as he spoke, his gaudy new watch catching the light with every gesture. A gift, of course. My mother beamed, touching his arm every few seconds as if he were a king. My father, a master of strategic invisibility, just stared at his plate. I was at the far end of the table, an afterthought next to an empty chair. A placeholder. And the new office, Leo boasted, his voice too loud for the hushed restaurant. Top floor. You can see the whole city. My mother sighed, a theatrical sound of pure adoration. We are just so proud, aren't we, dear? She asked my father. He grunted in response. Her eyes then slid down the long table and landed on me. A thin, cruel smile played on her lips. Clara, you're very quiet tonight, she said. The table fell silent. The clinking of silverware stopped. It was happening. That slow, familiar tightening in my chest began. I forced a small smile, just listening. It's a big achievement. She chuckled, a dry, rattling sound that grated on my nerves. She leaned forward, ensuring our aunt and uncle, seated across from her, could hear every word. Well, we're just so glad you could make it. When Leo suggested we invite you, I said of course. Family is family, after all. She paused, letting the silence stretch, letting the implication hang in the air like poison. You should thank pity for your seat. The words landed like stones, my breath caught in my throat. Leo snickered into his napkin. I saw my aunt shift uncomfortably in her seat, her eyes darting away. My father took a sudden, deep interest in the swirls of his wine glass. Nobody said a word. Nobody defended me. The silence was its own verdict. They all agreed. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I refused to give them the satisfaction of a scene. I just looked at my mother, and I smiled. At that exact moment, my phone, resting on the tablecloth, buzzed and lit up the white linen. The preview notification was just visible. Designs approved. Sending first payment now. Incredible work, Clara. It was a lifeline from another world. A world where I wasn't a pity case. A world I had built for myself, far away from this suffocating four-walled theater. I took a slow sip of my wine, holding my mother's gaze for a second too long. Then, I carefully placed my napkin on the table. Excuse me, I said, my voice perfectly even. I'll be right back. I walked to the restroom, my heels clicking on the cold marble floor. I didn't look at my reflection in the mirror. I didn't need to. I knew the look in my eyes wasn't hurt anymore. It was resolve. I opened my phone, went to my drafts, and found the email I had written 2 weeks ago. The one I hoped I would never have to send. The recipient was Arthur Henderson, our family lawyer. The subject was short. Invoke Clause 7B, proceed immediately. I hit send. And with that single silent tap, the world they knew began to dissolve. The silence in my condo was a blessing. After the noise of the restaurant, the condescending laughter and whispered judgments, the quiet here felt like a shield. Just the low hum of my computer, a sound of my own making. My mind drifted back. 2 memories, sharp as glass shards, explained everything. The first was from a year ago, just before Dad died. We were at the family cabin, the one he built with his own hands. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. He'd handed me a thick leather folder, its corners soft and worn with age. It felt heavy in my hands. This is everything, Clara, he'd said, his voice raspy with illness. The trust, the deeds, it's all in your name. Sole trustee. I was stunned. I couldn't find my voice, but what about Leo? I finally managed to ask. His eyes, usually so warm, hardened for a moment. Leo is a dreamer. And your mother, she's his biggest fan. They dream together. He looked out at the tall pine trees. You build. This is yours to protect, Clara. One day it will protect you. He knew even then. He saw their recklessness. He trusted me to be the firewall. The second memory was a phone call from 3 months ago. My mother, her voice dripping with a false sweetness that always set my teeth on edge. She needed me to release $50,000 from the trust for Leo. It's a brilliant investment opportunity, she'd chirped. I had done my research. It was a crypto scheme with more red flags than a bullfight. I said no. Politely but firmly. The sweetness in her voice vanished, replaced by ice. You're an ungrateful, unimaginative girl, Clara, she'd hissed across the line. Your father would be so disappointed in your selfishness. That was the moment the battle lines were truly drawn. A sharp rap on my door pulled me back to the present. I opened it, but no one was there. Just a bright pink slip of paper taped to the wood. An HOA violation notice. Warning, unapproved patio furniture. Fine, $200. I let out a shaky breath that was half laugh, half sob. My entire life was a balancing act. Managing a multi-million-dollar trust for a family that despised me, while getting fined for having the wrong color wicker chair. It was absurd. This fine was my problem, my stress. I would never use a cent of the trust's money for myself. That was the one rule I'd made. My salary from my design work paid my bills. My life was my own. As I peeled the notice off the door, my phone rang, loud in the quiet room. My heart hammered against my ribs. I looked at the screen. The name displayed was Arthur Henderson. My breath hitched. He had my email. It was time. The next morning, the storm broke. My phone rang, and the screen showed my mother's name. I let it ring twice, closing my eyes and taking a single steadying breath. Then I answered. The phone plan was declined, she said, her voice sharp as broken glass. There was no greeting. The entire family plan. Leo's phone is shut off. Fix it. It wasn't a request. It was a command. The kind she'd been giving me my whole life. Expecting me to obey without question. A year ago, I would have. 6 months ago, I would have stumbled over an apology. But not today. I can't, I said calmly. The silence on the other end was heavy with disbelief. What do you mean you can't? She snapped. It's paid from the trust account. It has always been paid from the trust account. Go online and fix it, Clara. I swiveled in my desk chair, my own quiet throne of control, and looked out the window at the gray morning sky. No, Mom. As trustee, I have frozen all non-essential outflows from the trust. You've what? She shrieked, her voice cracking. I'm initiating a full audit, effective immediately, I continued, my voice a cool monotone. I had rehearsed this. I mentioned it to you last month, remember? You said not to bother with the paperwork. I could hear her sputtering, searching for a weapon. She found one. This is because of that silly comment at dinner, isn't it? She accused. You're being vindictive and childish. I knew it. This is about fiscal responsibility, I said, quoting the exact language from the trust document my father had left. And protecting the estate's principal assets from mismanagement? She hung up on me. The click was loud and final. My hands were shaking slightly, but I felt a strange sense of calm. The first blow had been struck. Minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Mr. Henderson. His voice was the complete opposite of my mother's, measured, kind, and solid as oak. Clara, he said warmly, I received your email. I've been expecting it for some time now. Relief washed over me, so potent it almost made me dizzy. The weight on my chest lifted. Your father was a very smart man. He foresaw potential complications, Mr. Henderson said with careful diplomacy. His instructions, in the event of Clause 7B being invoked, are crystal clear. You have my firm's full and unconditional support. Now what's the first move? I wasn't alone. That single thought was a shield. The cabin, I said, my voice barely a whisper, but filled with a new strength. We need to list the cabin. Just as he began to outline the next steps, my phone started vibrating non-stop in my hand. It didn't stop. A new group text. It was from Leo. The title was simply Family Emergency. He had added every aunt, uncle, and cousin we had. The first message lit up my screen. Clara has lost her mind. She's stealing Dad's money and cutting us all off. Then the floodgates opened. What is wrong with you, Clara? Your mother is devastated. After everything they've done for you, this is how you repay them. You were always the selfish one. The messages poured in, a torrent of blame and confusion from every corner of my life. In the space of 5 minutes, they had tried and convicted me. I was the monster in my own family's story. The group text was just the opening salvo. The real attack came that evening. I was sitting in the dark, my phone silent on the coffee table, when it lit up with a message from my friend Maya. It wasn't a question. It was a screenshot. Underneath it, a simple warning. Don't let her get to you. My mother had posted on Facebook. It was a soft focus picture of her and Leo, smiling serenely at the camera from a family vacation years ago. But it was the caption that was a masterclass in manipulation, a dagger wrapped in velvet. Feeling so heartbroken tonight, it began. It's a special kind of pain when a child you have given everything to suddenly decides to turn their back on their family. We've always tried to do our best. Please pray for us during this difficult time. It was perfect. Vague enough for her to deny it, but specific enough that every single person in our circle knew exactly who she was talking about. She had made herself the victim. The comments started rolling in immediately. A tidal wave of sympathy. Oh honey, I am so sorry. You are such a good mom. Sending love and prayers. Some kids are just so ungrateful. Stay strong. The truth always comes out in the end. Ungrateful. The word echoed in my head. The same insult she'd hurled at me for months. I felt sick. She had taken our private family crisis and turned it into a public spectacle. My phone buzzed again. A notification. A cousin I had practically grown up with had unfriended me. Then a private message from her. You're a disgrace. For a moment the old shame washed over me. The familiar, crushing weight of it. A part of me wanted to call my mother, to apologize, to do whatever it took to make it all stop. Then there was a knock on my door. It was Maya, holding a box of pizza. She didn't say a word. She just walked in, set the pizza on my coffee table, and gave me a firm, grounding hug. I saw the post, she said, finally pulling back. She's good. I'll give her that. Everyone believes her, I said, my voice flat and empty. Maya opened the pizza box, the smell filling my sterile apartment. Let them, she said fiercely. People like that, they show everyone who they are eventually. You just focus on you. She gestured to my laptop, which was open to a half-finished design project. You keep building your own life. The real one. Her words cut through the noise. She was right. Their opinions didn't pay my rent. Their approval wasn't what was earning me respect from my clients. While we ate, I closed my design software and opened a new browser tab. I started looking at apartment listings. Not here. Thousands of miles away. In Seattle. A small spark of excitement flickered inside me. The first positive feeling I'd had all day. I wasn't drowning anymore. My mother thought she had me pinned down, shamed into a corner. She had no idea she was giving me the final push I needed to fly. Mr. Henderson's office felt like a sanctuary. It smelled of old paper and justice. The chaos of Facebook notifications and angry group texts couldn't penetrate its thick, wood-paneled walls. Here, there was only the plan. The realtor is confident, he said, his voice calm and steady. He slid a thick folder across the polished mahogany desk towards me. We have a strong cash offer on the cabin, well above the asking price. No contingencies. They can close in 3 days. My heart pounded against my ribs. It was happening. It was real, and it was happening faster than I'd ever imagined. I took a breath. Let's accept it, I said, my voice firm. Done, he replied, making a neat note on a legal pad. Now for the next phase. I've scheduled a mandatory trust review for Friday afternoon. Your mother, father, and Leo have all confirmed they will be here. He paused, looking at me over the rim of his glasses. They believe the purpose of the meeting is to force you to relinquish your trusteeship. A bitter, humorless laugh escaped my lips. Of course they do. Which brings me to this, he said. He turned and unlocked a small drawer in his heavy desk. From it, he pulled a thick, sealed manila envelope. He slid it across the desk. My name was written on the front, in my father's familiar, spidery handwriting. My breath caught. He left it with me the day he finalized the trust, Mr. Henderson explained quietly. It's a notarized affidavit, a letter, to be read only in a situation precisely like this. His final testimony, you might say. I stared at the envelope, my throat tight with 1,000 unspoken emotions. A voice from the grave. A final act of protection. My fingers traced the outline of his handwriting. He knew they'd do this, I whispered, more to myself than to him. He knew their patterns, Mr. Henderson corrected gently, and he trusted that you would be strong enough to see this through. As I held the envelope, my phone buzzed on the table. An email. The subject line made my heart leap into my throat. Official offer, senior designer at Axion Digital. My hands trembled as I opened it. It was real, a full-time, remote position, a salary that would make me completely, unequivocally independent, and a generous relocation bonus for Seattle. Without a word, I turned the phone and showed the screen to Mr. Henderson. He read the offer, and a slow, proud smile spread across his face. "Well, Clara," he said, leaning back in his leather chair, "it seems your new life is ready and waiting for you. All that's left is to close the door on the old one." His expression turned serious again. His gaze was steady, unwavering. "I will handle the legal framework on Friday. I will present the facts and the consequences, but they need to hear the truth from you." I clutched the affidavit my father had left me, the crisp paper a shield in my hand. I thought of the pity in my mother's eyes, the arrogant smirk on my brother's face. "I'm ready," I said, and for the first time, I truly was. The conference room was cold, not just the air conditioning but the atmosphere itself. It was sterile and soulless, with a long mahogany table that felt less like furniture and more like a battlefield. My mother, father, and Leo were seated on one side, a united front of smug certainty. They looked like a tribunal ready to pass judgment. My mother wore her pearl necklace, her personal armor of respectability. Leo was slumped in his chair, tapping impatiently on his phone, the picture of bored arrogance. My father was a ghost, already looking at a spot on the wall just past my head. I sat opposite them. Mr. Henderson sat at the head of the table, his presence a silent, grounding force. "Thank you for coming," he began, his voice formal, echoing slightly in the quiet room. "We are here to review the financial state of the trust." He placed 3 thin folders on the table and slid them across the polished surface. They stopped perfectly in front of each of them. "As you know, Clara has initiated a full audit," he continued. "The preliminary findings are troubling." My mother let out a sharp, condescending laugh. "The only thing that's troubling is her behavior, Arthur. She's emotionally unstable. She needs to be removed as trustee, for her own good and for the good of this family." Mr. Henderson didn't even flinch. He simply ignored her and opened his own, much thicker folder. "Let's start with this." He passed copies of a printed bank ledger across the table. Yellow highlighter bled through the thin paper. "These are a series of undocumented withdrawals made over the past 18 months. They total $93,450. He let that number hang in the air. "All transferred to a personal account belonging to you, Leo." The color drained from my brother's face. He shot up in his chair. "Those were loans. For my business." I told her. "A business that has posted 0 revenue and has no formal registration," Mr. Henderson countered flatly, not even looking up. "The withdrawals were co-signed by your mother." That was it. My mother shot to her feet, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "This is ridiculous. This is a family matter. We were managing our own money. She is just a bitter, jealous girl who is trying to ruin her brother." Her voice rose, filled with a righteous fury. Her father would be ashamed of this circus. This was my cue. I let the silence hang in the room. I let her words echo. I looked at her, my face a perfect blank canvas. She stared back, her eyes blazing, expecting me to crumble. I just waited. 1 second. 2. 3. The tension in the room became a physical thing, thick and suffocating. "Actually," I said, my voice quiet, but so clear it cut through everything. "He knew." I gave a small nod to Mr. Henderson. He picked up the thick, sealed envelope my father had left him. He broke the seal. The sound of the paper tearing was like a gunshot in the silent room. He began to read. The letter was concise and brutal. My father's words, read in Mr. Henderson's calm, steady voice, filled the room. He detailed Leo's history of gambling debts, going back to college. He spoke of my mother's habit of using the family funds to cover his losses and maintain their pristine public image. The letter ended with one final devastating sentence. Clara is the only one I trust not to drive this family into ruin with vanity and foolishness. My mother sank back into her chair as if her bones had dissolved. The pearls at her neck seemed to be choking her. Leo, desperate and cornered, lashed out. She's lying. Dad would never. He wrote that years ago, and you can't sell the cabin. He loved that place. He would never ever let you sell it. I reached into my bag. Slowly. Deliberately. I pulled out the original deed to the cabin, its paper yellowed and soft with age. I slid the document across the table. It came to a stop right in front of him. He did, I said softly. Clause 7b. Mr. Henderson spoke, his voice layered with legal authority. Clause 7b of the property deed, drafted by your father and myself. It states, in the event of demonstrated financial malfeasance by any other named beneficiary's sole, and indisputable discretionary power of liquidation is granted to the trustee, Clara Evans. My brother stared at the document, his mouth hanging open, the words not making any sense to him. I listed it last week, I continued, my voice steady, betraying no emotion. I reached into my bag one last time. I pulled out a single crisp sheet of paper. I placed it directly on top of the old yellowed deed. It was the finalized sales agreement. The sale closed this morning. The room went absolutely still. The finality of it sucked all the air out. My mother made a small wounded sound, like an animal. My father finally looked up from the table, and his eyes were filled not with anger, but with a hollowed-out, absolute defeat. I stood up. The meeting was over. My part in their lives was over. My new job starts on Monday. In Seattle, I announced to the stunned room. As for the trust, after Leo's loans are repaid to the principal from his share, the remaining funds will be dispersed per the dissolution clause. Mr. Henderson has all the details. I looked at them. One last time. My mother, broken. My brother, in shock. My father, erased. And I felt nothing. Not hate, not anger, not even pity. They were strangers. Goodbye, I said. I didn't look back. Walking out of that law firm, into the bright afternoon sun, felt like taking my first real breath after being underwater for years. My chest expanded with air that didn't taste of bitterness or duty. I didn't watch them crumble. I didn't need to. Their chapter in my life was closed, the book slammed shut. My victory wasn't seeing them fall. It was walking away. A week later, I was in Seattle. My apartment was mostly empty, filled with cardboard boxes and the echo of possibility. The air smelled of rain and fresh coffee. It was the smell of a new start. Maya had flown out to help me unpack. We were sitting on the hardwood floor eating pepperoni pizza straight from the box, our laughter bouncing off the bare walls. It was the most joyful, most peaceful meal I'd had in years. She raised a paper cup of water, her eyes sparkling. To new beginnings, she said. To new beginnings, I repeated, and the words felt solid and true in my mouth. I meant it. My phone, lying on the floor beside me, buzzed with a soft vibration. I glanced at the screen. It was a notification from my bank. Deposit alert, a wire transfer of $875,421.58 has been received. The proceeds from the cabin. My father's final gift. It wasn't about the money itself. It was about what it represented. A shield, an escape hatch, a foundation on which to build a life of my own making. I looked out the window at the sparkling lights of a city that didn't know my name. A city where I wasn't anyone's daughter or anyone's sister. I was just Clara, and for the first time in a very long time, that felt like more than enough. I smiled. A real one this time. It took burning my old life to the ground to find out who I was meant to be. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the one you're meant to keep. Have you ever had to make an impossible choice to save yourself? Let me know your story in the comments below.